Okay, folks, as is typically the case, there's technology issues at the last minute, so that is to be expected, especially when it's new. So welcome, everyone. Feel free to, especially when we get to questions, to turn on your cameras if you have cameras. That's part of the reason we're doing this, is it can be like a little over the internet fellowship. So feel free to do that at your leisure. So for those who don't know me, I'm Jeff Weinreich, and I'm the district trainer for Governor Dave. And even though he's not officially in office yet, these are kind of assemblies for his year. And two things I wanted to mention before we turn it over to Carl Thornton, who's going to take us through club service. One is, this is new technology. We've been using it for the last few months for Rio Grande Academy. And we also did the Secretary and Treasurer's Assembly a couple weeks ago. We had quite a few people, and also the grants management training that the District Foundation Committee puts on. So we've been using it quite a bit, but because it is new, there's still going to be issues. So that's why we want people to log in early and make sure their technology is working. The other change we're making this year, which I'm very excited about, is we got a lot of feedback at PETS this year and also at AGLG training that there should be more peer-to-peer interaction rather than having people at the district train everyone on how to do things, to have people in clubs around the district who are experienced in these various topics to kind of share their experience, their best practices, and have it be more interactive. And so these assemblies this morning are going to kind of follow that pattern. And I'm very optimistic. So with that in mind, one other thing, we are recording these sessions. So later today or tomorrow, they'll be on our district YouTube channel, so the people who may be interested down the road in looking at these assemblies will be able to do that. So let's do a very quick introduction, and then we will turn it over to Carl. Let's see, Phyllis, do you want to start?
What do you want me to? I'm Phyllis Bovary. I'm with the Rotary Club of Albuquerque.
And what is your role at the club?
Club Services Director.
Awesome, thank you. Let's see, Paul?
Paul Armijo, Raton Rotary, President-elect and acting president currently.
Awesome, thank you. Kristen?
Yes, this is Kristen Lee from the Rotary Club of Albuquerque. I am about to start my term as a board member in Division 3 there, which is community service.
Excellent, thank you. Todd?
Yes, Clovis High Plains Rotary, past president, currently board member and service chair.
Excellent, thank you. Ronnie?
Yes, I'm from the Las Cruces Rio Grande Club, and I will be the president starting July 1st.
Fantastic, thank you. Paul?
Still here, still Raton Rotary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Arwen?
I'm with the El Paso, Texas Northeast Rotary and during the club services position.
Excellent, thank you. And Debbie?
Yes, I'm Debbie Welker, and I'm the current president of the Angel Rotary Club and also acting assistant governor for Raton, Clayton, and Las Vegas.
Awesome, thank you, Debbie. And Kathy? Kathy, you're on mute.
I am. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Kathy Fuller, president of the Rotary Club of Alamogordo and district executive secretary.
Awesome.
All y'all.
Great to see you too. Okay, and finally, our presenter this morning, Carl.
Jeff, thank you very much for this opportunity. This is a great audience we've got going here. The whole district is covered from one end to the other. Dave would be so happy with this. I also want to thank you for bringing the training for District 5520 way up into the 21st century. This is really great. In fact, if we were having a face-on meeting, do you realize how many hours and miles and money it would take for all of us to get together? So this is just wonderful, and I can't thank you enough. What I've seen with you, we've got the best trainer in all of Rotary International. So thank you very much for being patient and persevering. I got into the Rotary Club back when I was in college, and I made up at the Albuquerque Country Club. So I feel like I'm back in Albuquerque Country Club now with Albuquerque members there. And my career, though, started following into the computer development area and directed me into project management. My advanced degree in organizational management, and as a manager at a large national laboratory, I developed knowledge to determine which organizations were successful and some not so successful. So give me just a sec and we'll open up our PowerPoint slide and go through. And any questions you have, please go ahead and ask. And Jeff will be screening those questions for us. If they get to be too numerous, we may have to take a couple of slides and go on. But this is going to be a very high-paced, because I've poured a lot of information onto you, but with this group that I know and recognize, we're off and running. So here comes our PowerPoint presentation. Club service is fellowship.
Carl, we're not seeing your presentation yet. Did you share the screen?
I thought I did. Okay, how do we share the screen then?
That green button at the bottom?
Ah, you're so good, you turn that on at the right second. But we are catching up with your technology, but our learning curve is a lot flatter than yours, Jeff, so thank you.
There you go.
Ah, okay, that's looking great. Looking familiar. I'm Carl Thornton. I'll be the I'm president-elect and be the president serving for Dave and Jeff for the next year. And I view club service as made up of fellowship and ensuring the effective and functioning of the club. And that's a mouthful, but it covers the Rotary clubs that I've been involved in over my career. We've got, we're going to be covering 5 cornerstones today: fellowship and friendship and how they're related. We're going to be discussing the effective interface with all services, and we're going to look at project management being necessary, and maintain organizational management and the makeup of successful organizations. So I know most of you are already geared up for the success of successful organizations, but let's just concentrate right now on the club service. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise. Rotary is a service organization, and since 1910, the Rotary motto has been service above self. Rotary strives to achieve its objective of service above self through activities in 4 primary areas. They are often referred to as the 5 avenues of service. The avenues are club service, community service, vocational service, international service, and new generations. Club service is, of course, one of these avenues. This avenue promotes the development of acquaintances as an opportunity for service. It involves the activities necessary to make the club function successfully and achieve its goals. Club service focuses on strengthening fellowship and ensuring the effective functioning of the club. The club service chair prepares the meeting room with the flag, banners, audio, video, computer projector equipment, and the name and badges. One club service chair a few years ago mentioned that club service is the most important avenue of the entire club, because without me setting up the room, you would not have a meeting place. Now that's, of course, subject to interpretation and so forth. It is always good if the club service chair is not there to have a backup plan. But what's the most important service of all? Setting it up the room? Yes, that's very important. Now, I visited the Alamogordo Club a couple of weeks ago, and they got that down to a science, I want you to know. The fellowship with all services and members. This group down below, and there's 3 former club service chairs there, is that a club service or is that a community service function? But what it is that we serve all services and then all members. And then how to prepare and plan at all fellowship functions. Fellowship and success. As we come together with our friends in fellowship, we're supportive of each other. We all pitch in and roll up our sleeves to get things done. And so we really, success is right here. This is 3 pictures, 3,000 words. But project management is necessary. And one of the things that we're talking about in project management is that it has a start and stop life. The 3 components are schedule, quality, and resources. And this is maybe an oversimplification, but what I found is that if we think of a 3-legged stool, like the old milking stool that none of us can really remember sitting on, if one of the legs gets shorter, quality or resources goes down, the stool will tip over and there will be no projects or success going on there. So the project should agree that will define in detail the final outcome. So the 3-legged stool that stands on the schedule, quality, and resources, and of course cost is part of that, and also resources has to do with our membership. In other words, if it's a small club and we find that we have a few members and only half of the members are really involved in doing things, then we need to take a look at our resources, how to increase our participating resources. Any changes in the legs will cause the stool to fall. In other words, if we want higher quality, we'll go up. We've been planning our installation dinner and going through and getting appropriate speakers. We've been trying to deal with our facility where we're going to have the banquet, and things keep changing as we're going along. The costs seem to be going up. People are taking vacations early, so we're pulling out all the stops on the project management to make sure we do have this thing going. But do consider very carefully your schedule, your quality, and your resources. If you've got a function that's going to last 3 days, you have enough resources to provide quality service to take care of your project. The answer probably is you're going to be scrambling and people are going to be doing double shifts. But anyway, if you want a successful project management, let's depend on the fellowship to get it done. One of the things that I've noticed in the past is that on the project management, we've ended up, and this is a certificate I got in the past, and the pyramid of success, I would hope, kind of like John Wooden's a basketball coach. But anyway, it says, buried inside it, planning is the process of encouraging and outsmarting failure. Outguessing and outsmarting failure. That's written by Robert D. Galbraith in his book, Winning at Project Management. So this has been going on for a number of years, but project management is a science and proven, but do remember that project management does have a start and stop time. In other words, if you start a project, then it's going to cut lifespan, it's going to be there. And at that time, it's always a good idea maybe to get together around with the project team and discuss, should we have done something different? How could we make sure that the cost of the club service is doing the best thing if we repeat this? Project management does have the lifespan, unlike programs. Programs, as we know, seem to go on forever and ever and ever, and bureaucracy grows and so forth. But project management has a life, and so there's a time for celebration after the life. So really, really think about how we're going to celebrate our successes also. That's very important.
Carl?
Yes.
Just one thing to add, because you brought up the installation dinner. We were talking as we were preparing for these assemblies that, June is the installation dinner month, and that really is a great example of a club service activity that really has to be done well. It's for the membership. It takes a lot of work. And I think, given that we're all kind of getting ready to do installations, that's a nice example of what falls under this club service purview, and something that we really do want to do a good job of. So just
very nice comment. Thank you very much, Jeff. And yes, the idea, we do want to put our best foot forward, but if the costs are going up, our resources are going up, The schedule is fixed. We've already got the guest speaker from the district coming in. So that's fixed. So then what do we do about the quality? Do we cut back increase our resources? Do we cut back on the quality? Instead of having prime rib, do we have a grilled chicken? And the next slide that we have will be coming up. We'll be showing, we'll cover all three of these on what we could be doing. Is there any more comments, Jeff?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's look at the cornerstones of the organization. Now, the reason we're maintaining organizational management is that if you're not organized, you will start going off on various tangents, becoming less than effective. So we're taking a look at communications, brainstorming, meeting of the minds, and measuring successful projects. So the next slide is going to show all of these in one picture, but the organization and the traditional values that the clubs and organizations have, never underestimate the power of traditional organizations. It's very powerful, and it'll make successful projects just flow right along. There's the next slide that shows different thinking styles for success. Here's the lady on the left thinking, we're going to have a feast, and she's looking at a fast food thing. The lady on the right is thinking, oh, a candlelit dinner, that's going to be nice. So what does the completed project really look like? And this is why the committees and the project members need to come together and iron out what it should be. And then finally, who and what defines success? Now, generally the committee members define success. And what the committee members are doing is that we did good. Some of the people didn't come, they missed out. That's their problem, not ours. So maybe next year we should schedule it at a little different time and give a little advance notice if we're going to have the installation dinner the last week instead of the first week in July. So, you know, there's always things that you can analyze and so forth. So anyway, this I think does cover thinking styles for success. In other words, what are you thinking as a member? What do you think should be done? Individual thinking is very, very powerful. And to look at our different thinking styles, I've been exposed to the whole brain model for many years now. And it was developed by the head of General Electric's management resource division. And it's proven out to be more than successful. Let's start off describing the whole brain model. And we'll be looking at the upper left, the logical, analytical, fact-based, quantitative. So you can see real quick, hey, this is somebody that's going to really be analyzing things. And then the lower left, organized, sequential, very planned, and very detailed. Well, that is, let's get organized on it. And then on the lower right, the interpersonal, the feeling-based, the emotional, what are people going to be thinking about this? And then the upper right, so holistic, intuitive, integrating, synthesizing, this would be the creative portion. And in a lot of projects, you might want to start in this to kind of brainstorm, to expand out how things are going to be going in the future. And if this would really, you know, serve us well. And then when you get over to the logical, the left brain, if you will, the logical and the analytical part, you might hear words like, well, I don't want to be the devil's advocate, but, and then you'll hear something like, well, the devil is in the details. Folks, I'm here to tell you the success is in the details, not the devil. So the more time you can analyze and have the various thinking preferences coming in, as it turns out, we humans are dual dominant in any two of the quadrants. 75% of us are dual dominant. 3% of the general population has whole brain. They'll actually move around very comfortably in all four zones of this. But you get somebody highly organized, and they're going to maybe resist being too creative, because we've got to keep things under budget, under control, on schedule, and so forth. So again, this comes together as being kind of a team flow and a teamwork. This has been used for many years, and now with the latest MIRs they're having, they're actually have proven that what was based on hypothesis 20 years ago is actually now fact on how the brains work. In fact, talking to Tom Walker. He just got back from Korea for the area president's meeting that down in Albuquerque yesterday morning. He mentioned that Korea is going to start abandoning their orphanages. They have found that their orphanages are similar to a warehouse, and they just put the kids in it and store them there. What they know is that the brains are not being developed in the youth and the babies, and also physically impaired by not being totally involved. So I'm not saying we need to love our friends, but we've lost a couple of good friends in our chapter this last year, and love to me is a very appropriate word for loving our friends. So as we go along on this whole brain, we'll start saying, okay, let's have the dinner. Let's have the candlelight dinner. Let's break out the champagne. Let's get really big on this, and this will be something people will remember. Oh yes, don't forget the big band. We're not going to have our resident member that's going to bring his brass band in this year, but wait a minute, the brass band is going to take up most of our budget, so we can't have. So again, the juggling of the resources and the juggling of the wants and to determine the success, that's what it's going to take. So as we go looking at what is our makeup on this, we have 4 different thinking selves, and I mentioned that 75% of us have 2 quadrants that we operate in very comfortably, going back and forth. And something simple as, how do we be creative? How do we really define what is logical and what is creative? So without really knowing what is going on, we have a tendency to kind of not express our opinions as an individual member of a project, but to say, well, we'll go along with what the consensus is or what the majority wants. And of course, being a democratic nation, that's kind of a nice way to go. But please don't be afraid to speak up and say, well, maybe we could do a couple of things. Maybe we could have a nice orchestra and not really go into the whole full Goodwin band to death. Because how many people really dance after 9 p.m. now anyway? Oh, does that have something to do with our age differential? That and our thinking preferences too. As we're looking at our thinking preference, I became very interested in the brain. And the brain, the human brain, almost fit. I'm still looking for that golf brain that I could bring in, but I'm really looking at this brain that we have, our individual thinking. If we respect the diversity of all 4 thinking quadrants, that turns into our organization. And by respecting the individual, our individual selves really come into play to making our organization. And once you get a whole brain organization going, success is off and running. It's just going to be self-perpetuating almost. But the understanding of being respectful of individuals is what it takes for the whole brain to work. So really don't sell short the whole brain, because it's what's going to really keep us going. If you started off with just having your regular meetings and you said, well, we need to do things a little differently, I'm going to yell out and say, hey, it's time to go get in line and get your buffet meal. Well, some clubs now ring the bell one time, and that means make sure you're in line getting your meal filled. And the idea that the effective meetings can be run in such a nice way really breaks down the success. In one club I know, the fellowship is so strong that it's hard to get any business done during a general weekly meeting, because people will just say, I want to visit. I want to find out, what's happening to this person and what's happening to this other member. And let's don't forget our guests. We've got to really take care of our guests, because they're certainly potential members. So please think of, how can I be a better friend and a better person and a better member? Well, involvement's part of it. And I think this audience has proven by getting up early this morning. And I did have 2 cups of coffee, but I'm really thinking that, hey, I could have been up in Colorado helping my dog, my son's new bird dog, being trained over birds and guns this weekend. But I think this is so important. So my use of time right now is the Rotary Club, Rotary International, and it's a real honor to be here. So I really wish you would keep in mind that the successful projects is the respect and understanding different thinking styles. If you have any questions, well, please ask, and I want to thank you right now for your time. Thank you very much.
Carl, why don't you go ahead and stop sharing so we can see everyone. There we go. So the only thing I wanted to add, and it was touched on briefly at the beginning, is that what's unique about club service is it's for the membership. It's not for others. And Rotary is being very insistent these days that our purpose is to serve our membership. And if we have a strong, engaged membership, then we can go out and do all these wonderful things that Rotary does. But if we don't do a good job serving the membership, then we're going to have a hard time doing all these other things. And so I think this whole notion about club service and getting making sure that we're doing a good job serving the membership is so foundational to a healthy club. So I just wanted to reinforce that because Carl mentioned it early on in his presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. In fact, I could have, I was going to use the word glue. The adhesiveness that comes with the fellowship is actually glue, but I thought, well, glue can be kind of sticky, especially if you used to make glue in kindergarten out of water and flour. But it is the adhesiveness that comes together. And you will see some projects that start out without fully planning, but as the members get involved, without even realizing what they're doing, they become a whole brain committee, and success is paramount.
We have a couple of minutes before we end at 9:30. Are there any questions or maybe a club service activity that your club is involved in that you want to bring up maybe as a best practice, or something you learned about the club when you were carrying out one of those club service projects?
Jeff, one of the things that we did with Alamogordo Club and learned this through the Rio Grande Academy is the club survey. As far as I know, I've been a member 10, almost 11 years at that point, and we've never really asked people, well, do you like this or that or whatever, or what do you want to change? And so I started out my presidential year then by doing a club survey, and would sure encourage other clubs to do that if they've not touched base with them, and especially if it's a larger club, and to see what folks like and don't like.
And I would expect it was somewhat enlightening, that survey. You're on mute, Kathy, sorry.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, some of the things we thought were problems weren't, and then on the reverse side, some of the things that we thought were okay there were some concerns. So it was very enlightening. This is Debbie, and I'd like to ask, how do clubs organize to address club service? I know in our small club in Angel Fire, we don't really have a committee for it. We don't have anybody assigned to club service. It tends to just fall in the hands of the club president, a little bit the club secretary, and a couple of the other board members. And we just keep kind of chugging along without even consciously being aware of the functions involved in club service.
That's an excellent point, Debbie. And I feel that if you don't have a club service chairperson to kind of spearhead things, you're remiss. A lot of times the older members say, well, we've done that 10 years ago, I don't want to do it again. So draft a new member and then support that new member as much as you can. And it's amazing, after the first successful fellowship that they have, they all of a sudden have bought in to the whole package. And it's just running away after that. And again, getting more of your resources involved. But really try to share this out. Jeff mentioned to me the other day that what about having an administrative committee in your club? And as an organizational management person, I thought, well, gee, here goes 2 or 3 more people tied up with their time and so forth. But I've been pondering that, Jeff, and that's something to go along. But I think club service is indeed the administrative glue that holds things together. And if the president's doing everything, you might want to increase the salary of your president, because I've seen presidents just, I think, working too hard. And then when they go out of service, yesterday at the president's area meeting in Albuquerque, I mentioned that I would be president on June 28th, sworn in, unless we could talk Rinaldo, our current president, into continuing being the president. And he real quick said, nope, 1 year was enough. I'm out. So anyway, I certainly understand that and the success he's had and so forth. I think it's wonderful. But trying to go to the survey, I think is wonderful. And be careful with your survey because they can be misinterpreted or misconstrued. So keep them simple to just a few questions and then report the results back without using names on them. And just say, hey, generally the consensus is this number 1, this number 3, this number 4. So we're going to focus now on the number 3 item and see how that goes. And you will find that you're rated higher than you think you will, because we're always wondering, is our cup half full or half empty? It's an ongoing process, and you cannot spend enough time in developing and nurturing friendship and fellowship. In one club I sat in on, the fellowship was so great, I don't know why they even bother trying to report on a business because it's so wonderful. Also, when the district governor comes to see you, let him share his knowledge and information.
I'm winding down this one conference. Hold on a second.
You can go
Excuse
ahead.
me, everyone. I'm sorry to interrupt. We are a little bit past 9:30. So we have to end this because we got another one starting in 10 minutes, but we're going to keep these conversations going around the district, maybe set up message boards and other ways so we can continue the sharing best practices and things. But we really do appreciate your time. I'm sorry that we have to move on to the vocational service, which is starting in 10 minutes. Lesson learned for me is maybe to have these go even a little bit longer than a half an hour. So we very much appreciate your time. You're going to be getting a survey from me with, how did this go and what can we do better? So expect that probably tomorrow. But as I said, we will be setting up some kind of ongoing communications so we can share all of this. So thank you very much for your time. And for those of you who are staying for vocational service, hang on. And for those of you who are leaving us, thank you very much and have a great Saturday.
Isaac, where's the volume?
All right. Sorry about that. Someone was calling in. Carl, thank you very much. Let's see.
Jeff, thank you for everything you've done, and thank you to everyone that participated in this. And I hope you'll be favorable to your survey. If you don't, well, please spell my name right if you see me again, but that'll be up to Jeff. So thank you very much.
Will do. Thank you.